There's a specific kind of person who's always the one making people laugh, the one who can turn any awkward silence into a joke, any tense moment lighter, the one who walks into a room and just knows instinctively that their job is to perform. And they do, brilliantly. But here's the thing nobody notices. Nobody asks that person if they're okay. And the reason they don't ask isn't what you think. It usually goes back to the first time humor became your safest move. Because why would anyone worry? You're laughing. You're making everyone else laugh. You look like you're having the time of your life. But underneath the laughter, there's a silence. A version of you that hasn't been seen in a very long time. And if you've ever walked away from a group you just made laugh and felt strangely, impossibly alone, like you just gave a performance nobody asked you to give, this video will finally explain why. And there's one moment right after the laugh that tells you everything. You probably do something most people never notice. When a conversation starts getting too personal, you crack a joke. When someone asks how you're really doing, you already have the punchline loaded. And when you feel something heavy rising up inside you, you turn it into comedy before it can turn into tears. You're always the first to make fun of your own flaws, first to laugh at your own pain, first to land the joke before anyone else can. And just to be clear, being funny doesn't automatically mean you're hiding. Humor can be pure joy, pure connection. This is about the moments when the joke shows up like a reflex, right when something gets close. And the thing is, it works. People love you for it. You're the one they want at the party, the one who makes boring meetings bearable, the one everyone wants around. But here's what they don't see. You can be surrounded by people who adore you and still feel completely unknown. You can make an entire room laugh and walk out feeling emptier than you walked in. Because what nobody sees is this. The jokes aren't random. The timing isn't accidental. The deflection isn't a quirk. Every single laugh you generate is doing something very specific. It's keeping people close, but never too close. And that pattern, it didn't just appear one day. It was built a long time ago. In a minute, I'm going to name what your humor is actually protecting and why people often mistake it for confidence. But first, here's what that pattern actually costs. Being the funny one is exhausting, not because the jokes are hard. You've been doing this your whole life. The jokes are easy, automatic even. What's exhausting is what happens in the silence after. That moment when the laughter fades, when the group disperses, when you're sitting alone in your car or lying in the dark at night, when the performance finally, mercifully stops. That's when you feel it, the weight. Sometimes you even feel it physically, the drop, like your nervous system was holding its breath while you performed and then suddenly lets go when you're alone. You replay the night in your head, not the jokes, the split second before them, the moment you almost said something real and then swallowed it. Because you've spent so much energy making everyone else feel good that there's nothing left for you. And the loneliest part is, you can't even talk about it. Because the moment you try to say something real, something serious, people don't know what to do with it. They wait for the punchline. They laugh nervously. They look at you like you've broken character, like you've forgotten your lines. And so you learn again what you've always known. They want the funny version of me, not the real one. So you keep performing. You keep deflecting. You keep turning your pain into material. And nobody ever knows that behind all those jokes, there's someone who hasn't felt truly seen in a very long time. Someone who's forgotten what it feels like to just be. So why do you keep doing this? Why can't you just stop? Because your humor isn't just a habit, it's a safety response. This didn't start yesterday. This started a long time ago, probably earlier than you can remember, when you learned something important, something that kept you safe. You learned that when things got tense at home, a joke could cut the tension, like a pressure valve,
like magic. You learned that when a parent was upset, making them laugh meant you were safe, at least for that moment. You learned that being funny got you something rare and precious, attention that didn't hurt, attention that didn't come with conditions. For some people, humor protected them from anger. For others, it protected them from being ignored. And for some, it was the only way to get attention that didn't come with a price. Maybe your home was unpredictable, moods could shift in seconds. Maybe emotions weren't safe to express, tears made things worse. Maybe sadness was met with silence or anger or dismissal. But humor got you warmth. Maybe the only time you felt seen, really seen, was when you made someone smile. And so your younger self did the math. If I'm funny, I'm valuable. If I'm funny, I'm loved. If I'm funny, I'm allowed to stay. That wasn't a flaw. That was brilliant. A child with no power, no control, found a way to survive, to be seen, to matter, using nothing but their mind and their timing. Your body learned, if I can make the room lighter, I'm less likely to be hurt in it. But here's what happens with survival strategies. When something saves your life, your nervous system doesn't forget. It keeps using it, even when you're no longer in danger, even when the people around you would accept the real version of you. Because to that part of you, the part that remembers, the performance still feels like survival. So if you've ever judged yourself for this, if you've ever thought, why can't I just be normal? Why can't I just be serious for once? If you've ever felt ashamed that you can't stop performing, I need you to hear something, and I need you to really let it in. This isn't a flaw, it was a solution. Your brain wasn't broken, it was protecting you. It found a way to make connection feel safe, a way to be seen without being exposed, a way to stay in the room without letting anyone too close. And that strategy, it worked. It still works. You don't owe anyone the performance version of you. But here's what's also true. You're not that child anymore. The room you're in today, it might actually be safe. The people around you, they might actually want to know you, the real you, not just the performance, not just the highlights, you. And the thing you've been protecting all this time, that softer, quieter, more serious version of you, might finally be ready to come out. Not all at once, not in some dramatic reveal, just one moment at a time, one honest sentence at a time. And once you know what your humor is actually protecting, you'll start noticing the exact moments it activates, almost like a signal. So what does this actually look like in real life? Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. It looks like this. Someone asks, "How are you doing, really?" And you feel it, that split second where you could go one of two ways. You could tell the truth, or you could reach for the joke. And most of the time, the joke wins, not because you're lying, but because the truth feels naked. You're sitting with someone you care about. The conversation is going deep, real, and suddenly you feel that familiar tightness in your chest, that voice that says, "This is too much, make it light, make them laugh." And before you even decide to do it, you've already done it. The joke is out, the moment is gone, and you're safe again, but you're also alone again. That's the tell, that split second between feeling something real and turning it into performance. Here's a tiny test. Think of the last time someone asked, "Are you okay?" What was your first impulse? Answer or joke? This isn't about labeling yourself or diagnosing anyone. It's just about noticing what your body learned to do. And when you start seeing it in yourself, you'll start seeing it in others too. The friend who deflects every compliment with a joke, the coworker who's always on but never really there, the person at the party who's making everyone laugh while their eyes look somewhere far away. And when you see it, you'll recognize it, not with judgment, but with a quiet kind of knowing. Oh, you learned this too. So what do you do with all this? Here's what I'm not going to tell you. Stop hiding, be vulnerable, show people the real you. Because that's not how this works. You can't just turn off a system that's been keeping you safe for years, maybe decades. And honestly, you don't need to. This isn't about becoming someone else. This isn't about fixing yourself. This is about giving yourself one new option, just to catch yourself in that split second before the joke, to feel what's actually underneath it, and sometimes, just sometimes, to let that real thing be the thing you say instead. If you ever want to experiment, just once, you don't have to confess your whole life. It can be one honest sentence, or even one honest word. And if nothing changes, that doesn't mean you failed. It just means this shield had a reason to exist. You might try it once. Say something honest, something that doesn't have a punchline, something that's just true. And see what happens. See if the people around you can hold it.
See if the world ends, or if maybe, just maybe, someone looks at you differently. Not with disappointment, not waiting for the joke, but with something softer. Something that looks a lot like recognition. Something that feels a lot like being seen. You don't have to stop being funny. You just don't have to hide behind it anymore. And that's already more than most people ever do. That's already everything. So, here's a question I want to leave you with. Not for me, for you. What feeling do you think your humor is trying to hide? Sadness, anger, disappointment, fear? And who was the first person you learned you couldn't show that feeling to? Sit with that for a second. And if you want, tell me in the comments. I read every single one, and I promise you're not shouting into the void here. If this video described something you've never quite been able to name, there's another pattern that often shows up alongside this one. It's about people whose minds never stop, people who overthink everything, not because something's wrong with them, but because their brain learned a long time ago that thinking was the only way to stay safe. Because humor and overthinking often come from the same place. A brain that learned safety has to be earned. That video is right here, and I'll see you there.